If you had only one day left to live, would you chase the extraordinary or would you cherish the ordinary? Would you rush toward everything you never had, or would you pause finally and fully live what's already here? Time doesn't always tell you when it's running out, but if you truly knew today was your last, what would you do? This is not a bucket list, it's a soul list, and this is what I'd do. I'd begin with my voice, because for most of my life, I used it wrong, or not at all. I'd say I'm sorry to the friend I ghosted after our falling out, not because I was entirely wrong, but because losing connection was worse than losing an argument. I'd say thank you to the teacher who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. I'd say I love you without the protection of a joke or a casual shrug. I'd call the people who shaped me, who hurt me, who healed me, who held space for me, and I'd speak what I should have said years ago. Because at the end, you don't regret being too vulnerable, you regret being too late. Words are not just sounds, they're soul markers, and the ones you leave unsaid become weights in your chest. So on my last day, I'd empty every one of them, not perfectly, just honestly. Forgiveness is strange. We think we need closure. We think we need an apology. But we don't, not really. I'd think of the people who left me wounded, not with a knife, but with silence, distance, neglect, and I'd forgive them, not with fanfare, not with confrontation, just quietly, just truly. Because bitterness ages the heart faster than time ever could. I'd forgive myself too, for the ways I showed up wrong, for the moments I betrayed myself just to be accepted. Forgiveness, on the last day, isn't about fixing, it's about freeing, and I would set everyone free, including me. Here is healing in touch. We underestimate it until it's gone. I'd hold my children, grown or not, and let them feel not my strength, but my softness. I'd run my fingers through the hair of my partner, not because they needed comfort, but because I did. I'd let my hands remember the warmth of others, without screens, without rush. Because when you can no longer hold someone, you remember how every second you could have mattered. I would not flinch. I would not wait for the right moment. I would make every embrace matter, every one. I used to live in my calendar, in my deadlines, in my next. But on my last day, I'd cancel it all. No meetings, no lists, no performance, just presence. I'd sit with my dog a little longer on the porch. I'd taste my food instead of scrolling through headlines. I'd let the coffee go cold if it meant the conversation stayed warm. Because the present is not what happens between goals. It's where life actually is. I used to miss the sky. I was too busy looking down, at my phone, at my to-do list, at the pavement in front of me. But on my last day, I would look up. I'd wake up before dawn, just to see the morning light touch the rooftops. I'd follow the clouds like stories. I'd trace the edges of every sunbeam as if they were handwritten letters from the universe. I would lie in the grass like I did when I was young, face tilted toward eternity. Because nothing makes you feel more alive than realizing how small you are and how sacred that smallness can be. And when the sun sets, I wouldn't rush away. I'd stay there for the in-between, the twilight, that soft, golden hush that says, you were here and it mattered. Even if no one else remembered that moment, I would, and that would be enough. I used to avoid mirrors, not because I feared age, but because I feared the reflection of someone I hadn't fully accepted. On my last day, I'd look at myself and I'd really see me. Not the flaws, not the regrets, not the goals unfinished, but the survivor, the wanderer, the soul that kept showing up, even when it was tired. I'd trace the lines on my face like old rivers that carried decades of laughter, grief, and grit. I'd say, you did okay, not perfect, but real, and that's more than enough. I would forgive myself for trying so hard to be what I thought the world wanted, and I'd thank myself for still being here, despite all that was lost. Because peace doesn't come from accomplishments. It comes from finally embracing the person you've been running from, yourself. If today were my last, I wouldn't spend it guarding what I've earned. I'd spend it giving what can't be priced. A look that says, I see you. A touch that says, you matter. A silence that holds space, not discomfort. I'd write one last note to someone who doesn't know I admire them. I'd tell a stranger that their kindness shaped my day. I'd leave my wisdom, not in a will, but in whispers, small lessons hidden in simple acts. I'd make sure my last act was not about me, but about giving so someone else could live tomorrow with a little more courage. Because in the end, what we give lives longer than what we keep. I wouldn't try to make it grand. I wouldn't rush to finish anything. I'd just sit and breathe and listen to the quiet hum of a life fully lived. I'd close my eyes and remember not the milestones, but the moments, the smell of my mother's kitchen, the sound of laughter down the hallway, the weight of a friend's hand on my shoulder when I thought I'd fall. If this were truly my last day, I'd smile, not because it was easy, but because I lived it all. The messy, the magical, the ordinary, the sacred. And in my final breath, I'd whisper one last thing to the world. Don't wait to feel alive. Don't wait for your last day to love like this, to see like this, to live like this. Because the truth is, none of us really know how many days we have left. So live today as if it's the one you'll remember forever.